Venezuela is not stable. Inside the country, pressure is building. And I'm telling you, sooner or later, Venezuela is going to explode. Let me explain. The political equation in Venezuela changed on January 3rd when US forces extracted Nicolás Maduro, completely humiliating the Venezuelan military in the process. Before that day, Venezuelans had been living through one of the darkest periods in the country's history. After the presidential election of July 2024, the dictatorship shifted into a new gear: state terrorism. And yes, that's the correct term. Because after Maria Corina Machado and the Democratic opposition proved that Maduro had lost the election in a landslide, the regime realized that it no longer had legitimacy. So the regime did what dictatorships do when they can no longer persuade people. It began to terrorize Venezuelans into submission. People were kidnapped from their homes for posting videos criticizing the government. Police stopped young people in the streets and searched their phones. If they found photos, messages, or WhatsApps supporting Maria Corina Machado, they could arrest you and accuse you of being a terrorist on the spot. After more than 26 years under Chavismo, Venezuela had never seen repression at that scale. And the reason for this shift was that the regime had no other option. You see, Chavismo is no longer a real political movement in Venezuela. It has no democratic majority. It has no persuasive project. It has no future. If Venezuela held free and fair regional or national assembly elections tomorrow, the regime would be lucky to win a handful of seats. This is not normal politics. Right now, the only thing holding Venezuela together is fear. And that's where January 3rd comes in. Because after Maduro's capture, the US recognized his vice president, Delcy Rodriguez, as the interim president. And for the last 4 months, Delcy has been trying to do two things at once: appease the United States and consolidate control over the regime. That's not easy. But let's be clear, Delcy Rodriguez has no interest in a democratic transition. She's not some reformer who suddenly discovered democracy. She's a central figure in the machinery of corruption, torture, and repression that has sustained the system for years. But Delcy and the rest of the regime leadership are trying to survive. They're hoping that if they just say the right things, release just enough prisoners, and present themselves as a new government, that the world will move on. That's why the regime has rebranded so dramatically. For decades, Chavismo was red. Red shirts, red flags, red propaganda, Chavez's color everywhere. Now, suddenly, the red has disappeared. It's been replaced by blue and white, and the images of Chavez and Maduro are being taken down across the country. The message is obvious. Don't look at the past. We're different now. We've changed. But they're not different. They're the same people. It's the same officials, the same corruption networks, the same dictatorship. And one of their main strategies has been to soften their image abroad by announcing the release of political prisoners. In January, the regime announced an important number of releases. Only a fraction of those promised releases were actually confirmed, and hundreds of political prisoners still remain behind bars. And just think about the absurdity of this. These people are not only admitting that they're holding political prisoners, they also want to be applauded for releasing some of them out of the goodness of their hearts. But Venezuelans know these people. For more than 20 years, this has been the same ruling class, the same dictatorship. And inside Venezuela, the pressure just keeps building. There's a humanitarian crisis that's never ended. In parts of the country, there's no reliable electricity or drinking water. The minimum wage remains frozen at roughly 27 cents a month, in a country where a meal can cost you $10. Think about that. A monthly minimum wage can't even buy you a bottle of water. And then came the case of Carmen Navas, the 82-year-old mother who spent months searching for her son after the state denied again and again that he was in their custody. But he was already dead. He had died months earlier, and the regime let this mother keep searching anyways. That case shook the country, and Carmen Navas died shortly after the truth was finally revealed. And in response, students at the Universidad Central de Venezuela organized a protest. And that matters immensely, because 4 months ago, these students would have been arrested on the spot. Their families would have also been threatened and likely arrested as well. But since January 3rd, the regime is much more constrained. Not because it's become democratic, but because it's trying to protect its new image. Because it doesn't want to provoke the United States. Because it knows that the world is watching. And that changes everything. Because if the regime is no longer willing or no longer able to use the same level of repression, then people begin to test the limits. Students protest, families of political prisoners speak out, people begin to lose fear. And once fear starts to break, dictatorships become very fragile. That's why the combination of Carmen Navas' death, the student protests, and the pressure over political prisoners scared the regime so much. They were so afraid that Jorge Rodriguez, Delcy's brother, responded by promising that another 300 political prisoners would be released. And there's one more factor. Maria Corina Machado, the Nobel Peace Prize laureate and the undisputed leader of Venezuela's democratic movement. This week she's in Panama, one flight away from Venezuela. Everywhere she goes, she proves that Venezuelans continue to support her. Maria Corina is not just the most popular political figure in Venezuela. She has something even more powerful, an unmatched ability to mobilize people. Everywhere she goes, Venezuelans come out. They trust her. and they know that she won't stop until Venezuela is free. And this week, she confirmed that she intends to run in the next presidential election and return before the end of 2026. So let's recap. The regime lost the 2024 presidential election. Maduro's gone. Delcy Rodriguez is trying to rebrand a dictatorship without dismantling it. Hundreds of political prisoners remain behind bars. The economy is still collapsing. Students are protesting again, people are losing fear, and Maria Corina is preparing to return. So when people ask me, is Venezuela headed toward a transition? My answer is yes. I don't know how and I don't know when, but it's coming. What we're watching right now are the death throes of a regime whose time has run out, whether they realize it or not. The only question left is, will they negotiate their exit, or will they force the country to push them out? What do you think? Let me know in the comments.